All team, give it everything you got.
It's time to fangirl flail with Fangirls Going Rogue.
Count me in.
I don't think there's anything more important in the Star Wars universe than the fans.
News, discussion, and commentary from the female point of view.
You call this a diplomatic solution?
No, I call it aggressive negotiations.
With your hosts, Teresa Delgado, Trisha Barr, and Sarah Woloski.
Boy, am I glad to hear your voice.
Strap in, because this is where the fun begins.
I like the sound of that.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Fangirls Going Rogue. My name is Teresa Delgado, one of your hosts, and with me are my two co-hosts, Sarah Woloski. Hey, Sarah, say hi.
Hello, I'm excited to be here talking Star Wars again with my fangirl friends. Every month, it's like a nice, fun fangirl pajama party.
I love pajama parties. And to join in, I'm going to call her the birthday girl because this is her birthday month. It's Trisha Barr. Hey, Trisha.
I'm still celebrating. I have peeked out and looked for my shadow every day of February. And winter is going to be over shortly, and it will be summer everywhere. I have declared that, and so it will be.
Nice.
I would like to get that to Texas as soon as possible, please.
You know what? I can send some of my weather over there because it's 90 degrees this week in LA.
Yes, please. I want all of that. I do not need 60-degree Alderaan weather on my phone. I need whatever the hottest planet is weather.
90 degrees is Geonosis.
I'll take it. I will take it.
It's a good day for an arena battle, is what mine says.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. So, guys, Star Wars officially crossed the $2 billion mark worldwide. Finally! As it starts to trickle out of theaters, which makes me sad. Now, I still have quite a few showings in my area. Almost all the theaters still have it at least for 2 showings a day. What are your theaters doing, Trisha?
I still find it. It comes up on my Fandango, and there's lots of offerings. So there's still, like, the big theaters that I usually go to still have it in 2 theaters. That's not bad.
Sarah?
Yeah, for me, definitely is around. And in fact, for Valentine's Day, that's what Richard and I are doing. We're going to go see The Force Awakens.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I think that what we said might happen in our last episode, I don't think that's happening. Makes me really sad. I wanted a Rogue One trailer exclusively in front of it so that way we'd get our numbers up. All we need is like $17 million more and we'll pass Titanic or something.
No, I think it's 100 and something million.
Maybe I can't do math.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That sounded so bad. I'm sorry.
No, you know what? If you listen to Disney Vault Talk, it's a running joke.
That's
the people
true.
listening to this that listen to that, they automatically know that Teresa can't do numbers.
17 million is 168 million. That's just how it is in your head.
Yeah.
I can totally see, like, the captain of the Titanic. We're going to run into an iceberg, unfortunately.
All right. Well, we wanted to congratulate our fangirl friends Amy Ratcliffe and Dr. Andrea Letmundi on Lattes with Leia over on the Coffee with Kenobi network. They started an all-new fangirl show, and actually, we took the time to interview them for our very first Fangirls Going Rogue priority transmission. So be looking for that in your feeds sometime soon.
I know, it's totally fun because we can just do things and record them because we want to. And put them up. So that's awesome. And
podcast freedom.
And if, for people who are looking for our back episodes, almost all of them are loaded. We put them in there. So you'll see rewind episodes. They're going to be in there, all of them. And it's fun to go back and listen to, like, Tia Carr's interview after the Sabine episode and Steve Blum's interview and all those. So, check those out too after those Rebels come out and hear what they were hinting at. You can find them all at our website, which is really shiny and updated. Thanks so much to Geek K for it's purple and beautiful. And then Sarah did this thing that's a logo that it screams fangirls.
I hope so. Yeah, I got the X-Wing fangirl fighter flying out at you. So it was really fun to create. And you guys helped me pick out the colors, which I appreciate all your suggestions for creating that logo because I couldn't have done it alone.
Well, I couldn't have done it at all because I can't draw. So mine would have looked like an X. This is the great part because we each have our talents.
It's true.
Mine would have been just an X. That's mine.
Not sure what my talent is, but it's there somewhere.
You have good ideas.
You have great
That's
questions.
That's going to get me far in life.
No, it's true. Sometimes it takes an idea to spark someone to do something. Like, that's how Richard and I work too. You know, he has all these big ideas and I have the skills that can like create it. So it works.
You're the executor?
Yes.
He's the big picture guy.
Yes. He has skills too, of course, but yes.
I know what one of my skills is not.
What?
Math.
And numbers.
Math and numbers.
Okay, well, wait a minute. Okay, Teresa, math, simple math. 5 plus 3 equals
8.
Episode 8.
Whoa!
See how I do?
I loved watching you ride on that Segway.
Oh my god!
Oh well, you know it was funny because I do the Daisy Ridley roundups at Fangirl blog, and yesterday as I was doing it, I went on Daisy Ridley's Instagram, and she was celebrating Chinese New Year, and she did a little Instagram. She's celebrating with the stunt team, and I was like, wait a minute, she's celebrating with the stunt team. Are they doing it? Are they doing it? And then today in Entertainment Weekly, they were like, oh yeah, yesterday in the call, Bob Iger said, yes, the cameras are rolling on episode 8. So it wasn't like the big 7 drop with the picture. Remember? That was, you know, the picture.
Yes.
Maybe they were just like,
with the flowers, right?
Well, this time Kathleen Kennedy sent her flowers and the episode 8 script. So we knew everybody was reading and getting ready. So they're in it. They're filming it. And it's exciting. I'm excited.
Wow, it's happening. Man, these guys didn't have much of a break after all the hype of episode 7. Episode 7. Now I'm getting my numbers confused.
You're welcome.
I know. After that, all the media they had to do, and then they get a month maybe, and then bam, back in filming.
Well, I wanted to ask Teresa, because you have the wonderful new Galactic Fashion show with Jonah Marie. And do you guys talk about how fashionable Daisy Ridley is just in general, or is it only about fashion, like Star Wars fashion? What do you guys roll on your topics?
Well, we've done one episode together. So I could talk about that. We talked about the premieres, and so we talked about what everybody was wearing. So we did talk about that. We haven't really talked about the actors as far as just their everyday fashion or anything like that. It's definitely something we can put on our list to do. But mostly we're looking at things that, like, our news segment is usually new stuff that's coming out or fashion shows that have happened, things like that. And then we usually will have an interview with somebody that's kind of prominent in the fashion community or does design work, or, you know, we've talked to, not even we, she, before I came on the show, had a good conversation with Bria and Amy Ratcliffe, and, you know, people who kind of put together fashionable posts on Instagram and blog posts and things like that. So there's really no recipe. It can kind of go anywhere and everywhere. But the main thing is focusing on just that aspect of Star Wars, that clothing aspect and accessories and things like that. One of the things that I think is cool that we did touch on is we're touching on male fashion as far as them not having a whole lot of options now, as opposed to girls who do.
Yeah.
Is that crazy? Well, we want everybody to have equal opportunity fashion. So get on it, people. Licensing.
Right.
Yeah,
one of those is that guys don't have shirts with certain characters on them. They don't have that option. I even had a tweet from somebody who asked me, it was a male, who said, after listening to Galactic Fashion, could I give him some suggestions about how he could wear his Star Wars fandom to work? And it was so interesting because that's always been my question about wearing Star Wars fandom to work. But girls have started to get so much lately with accessories, scarves, and necklaces and things like that that we can have Star Wars every day on at our professional jobs. And guys mostly have T-shirts. And so it became a discussion of same discussion we've been having for years, guys. It's all about how you wear it, how you accessorize it, and what you do with it, not necessarily about the item itself.
Well, one real for guys, Think Geek has cute polos and they have a monthly Star Wars tie. And Kohl's had Star Wars tie clips. So sometimes they're out there, but I don't know that they necessarily advertise as much. So I didn't know they had tie clips for Star Wars until I got to look at the Kohl's stuff. And I was like, oh, man, look at all the things they have. So, yeah, I'd say Think Geek is the place to go. And then Disney Parks has awesome Star Wars ties, but then you'd have to be at the Disney Park and want to buy a tie. So sometimes...
Unless you're using the Shop Disney Parks app, which allows you to get product from the parks.
And I'm mad at Jonah Marie for tweeting about that.
That thing is dangerous.
Yes, it is.
It's the best, guys. How do you think I get stuff from the parks?
Yeah.
But okay, so when you hit Star Wars on that, does all the expensive handbag, Dooney and Burke handbags
everything
first?
Comes up. Everything comes up. And I'm going to be buying some of those when I go to Disney. I'm waiting because I want to do it in person, not because I want to do it in person and hold it in my hand when I buy it and be looking at the person at the store and be like, look what I'm buying.
No, you have to choose. You have to choose the right purse for you
because you have to pick the right pattern because all patterns are different. Just like on Vera Bradley's, the Dooney and Burke patterns, they fall in different places. They just take the material and cut it and put it into the bag.
It's true.
So they're not all the same. So here's my one suggestion for anybody listening, since we were talking about Galactic Fashion for guys that want to wear Star Wars stuff to work. You can pick pretty much any Star Wars t-shirt, but if you go with a Star Wars t-shirt that has a very clever design that isn't outright screaming Star Wars with a logo on it, and then you can actually put on a suit jacket with it with some suit pants, it would look really, really nice and really dapper, especially if it's one of those shirts that you have to go, what is that? Oh, it's Star Wars. Cool. So it's not, your boss isn't, saying you can't wear that because it has a big Star Wars logo on it. They may not even know what it is. You got to be clever.
There you go. I actually hosted a Star Wars trivia event for Florida Power and Light here this week. And the theme was Star Wars. And there were guys who were wearing suit jackets with their sport coats with the Star Wars shirt. It looked awesome. I loved it. It was really a lot of fun to see that kind of energy. So yay.
Yay.
All right. Well, last time we talked, we have the whole hashtag where's Rey, hashtag here's Rey. Have you guys started to notice that there is Rey merch starting to show up on store shelves recently?
I've only noticed that some of my friends on Facebook are finding it, and I keep going to the store and still can't find it.
Yeah, it's rolling out. It's coming out slowly, but I honestly think it really depends on your location and where you're at. But keep checking because it's starting to come out. The Rey lightsabers are slowly rolling out, as well as more of all of the figures. A lot of people are starting to find them, so just be on your toes and be ready to run into the store, run right to the toy section and grab the very first thing you see.
Well, I did get...
And then run away.
I did get a Rey something. I got the Her Universe dress that I was not sure on. It was on sale for $40, and I had seen a picture of it styled up in the Watto's Grotto. Someone posted a picture of it with boots and a scarf. And I was like, okay, I can see how I could wear that because it was I wasn't sure when I first saw it on the website, and I love it.
You're talking about the Rey swing dress?
Yes, the swing dress. Okay. That's what it is. I couldn't remember the name of it, but yes, and I love it, and it's runs a little big, so I got it and had to get a smaller size. So, but anyway, it's really cool to do black boots and a scarf with it, and a sweater. It looked really cool.
What kind of black boots are you doing? Are you doing combat boots? Are you doing riding boots? What are you doing?
I have these UGG boots that look like mitten material, and people always like them, but they
the sweater boots.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I did.
Yeah. All right. Now, the next thing that we got is we actually found out that Kylo Ren's Force, rumble, is actually a purring kitty.
I love that.
And
We found out there's
BB-8
an-
purrs too. So are they related? Is BB-8 his father? Are they brothers? What's going on?
His father. Well, we got a really cool article from Amy Ratcliffe over at thenerdist.com. You can go check it out. It's Kylo Ren's signature force sound was a purring kitty, say the sound designers. And it is a really cool interview with David Acord and Matt Wood. And they really go into talking about like the traitor line from FN 2199 or FN traitor or no TR
Dash 8R, traitor.
Yeah, traitor. Yeah. And they get into all that stuff. They talk about Wrath Towers. They talk about BB-8. And it's a really cool read if you get a chance. They also talk about how they did dive into the backlog of Skywalker Sound audio clips. So those were all available for them to use. And overall, it's just really cool.
And we want them to put all those sounds on the internet so that we can use the podcast, right?
Please. Sarah? Yes, please. I have tweeted at StarWars.com. I want the Star Wars soundboards updated.
It'll happen someday, but yes, it would be really cool if they were, because sometimes you're just like looking in the just like the ads all had music in them. So
yeah, I know we were trying to find a Daisy, a Rey quote, and just that music underneath was just it just prevents it because
so we're waiting, or then we just have to wait until the it comes out on Blu-ray and then we can get it. But it would be really cool if they put it on the soundboards, because I was so excited when they put the audio clip for Star Wars Rebels, the music cue. So just that kind of stuff it's fun for us as fans to get that kind of stuff. We can enjoy it more because you see it and then you're like, oh, I just want to hear the music again. I don't want to, and that makes it easy. Oh, and guess what else came out this week? The Bloodline excerpt from Claudia Gray's new novel. This is an adult novel, which is going to be just like her young YA novel.
It's just a book, Trisha.
It's just a book.
It's a novella.
Yes, you will get to hear more on that later. But did you guys read the excerpt? Did you look at the cover? Did you love it?
I looked at the cover. I'm in love with it. I haven't read the excerpt because I haven't had time to sit down and do it. But I will also say this. I tend to steer away from excerpts because I don't want to read part of the story and then not be able to read the rest, especially if it's something I know I'm going to love, because I will be in agony for months and months and months until the book comes out. So I haven't officially decided if I'm going to read it yet. But I saw the cover and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. And you know what, Trisha, I saw some tweets by you that you actually got to interview Claudia Gray.
I did. One of the things I was always look at Star Wars Insider and like, I want to see more women interviewed. So I said, Jonathan, would you mind if I interviewed Claudia Gray for Star Wars Insider? And he says, absolutely. So I interviewed her. She is so smart, and it's out now on newsstands. That Star Wars Insider 163 she talks about storytelling, just about how she weaved the characters together. It was so much fun to listen to how knowledgeable she is. She talks about writing fanfic, which is awesome for someone like me to hear. And then there's also an article in there that I wrote about the character Obi-Wan. It's the second part of my Obi-Wan series. So he's one of my favorite characters. So I got a lot of good compliments on that. So if you guys aren't reading Star Wars Insider, you should. There's great stuff in there about storytelling. So really excited. And I'm just excited to have a Leia novel. And Teresa, if you read the excerpt, you're going to want to definitely read it more.
That's why I'm not going to read it.
I was like, ooh, I want to. Oh, this is the end.
When does it come out?
Yeah, you can check that out on May 3rd. It'll be hitting bookshelves, or pre-order it now. That's what I like to do, because then it just shows up on your door on the day.
Yeah, and you forget that you ordered it.
All right, so Sarah, did you see the Kathleen Kennedy article in Vanity Fair, the most powerful woman in Hollywood?
You know what? I didn't. I feel bad. But I'm opening it up now, and I'm super excited to read it after we get off. So, why don't you tell us all about it?
Well, it was one of those things where when I did the trivia contest and I said, who created Star Wars, and everybody's hands went up, and they said, and George Lucas, people were screaming. I'm like, oh, you can't scream it out, but okay. Anyway, you win. Everybody wins a prize. So, but then I said, who took over the reins of Lucasfilm and is now, running Star Wars? And everybody sort of looked at me, and I was like, So, and it might be because
Blasphemy.
I know in this article, Kathleen Kennedy talks, he mentions that she's not into really tooting her own horn, or she just wants to get it done. We talk about that a lot on Hyperspace Theories, that we were a big fan of Kathleen Kennedy because she gets it done. But she seems like even in sports and everything in this article, she's been a leader. But, she's worked on a lot of really famous movies. And so there's a screenwriter, Tony Kushner, who wrote Lincoln and also Munich. So she's worked with him. And there's this great quote in there from Kushner. It says, Kushner told me he was a little shocked when Kennedy said she was going to take the Lucasfilm job. Kennedy is known for creating and nurturing complex characters in her movies. People such as the Israeli assassin in Munich, played by Eric Bana, and Daniel Day-Lewis's flawed and all too human Lincoln. What was she doing running a science fiction empire? This past summer, his fears were allayed when he and Kennedy had a conversation about the development of some of the scripts for current and future Star Wars movies. She talked about the way in which the conventional approach to these things is that a script starts from the outline, and that's what everybody focuses on before there's a word of dialogue. In Kushner's recollection, Kennedy was urging the writers to turn their focus to the characters. She kept saying to them, who are these people? I don't know who these people are. Kushner felt she was expressing an impatience about character being secondary to the storyline, which violated something very essential to her. And I read that quote, and, there might be some flaws with The Force Awakens, but nobody's complaining about the characters, that they pop, they're brilliant, and they're fantastic. And that's where I see Kathleen Kennedy's influence. So it was really cool to see this article and see that was her focus. And especially over the years of blogging, I've always talked about that. Go back to the characters and everything else will work. So it was so fantastic to read that.
That's really awesome. And I want to bring up the Nerdist podcast. Have you listened to that show?
I have listened to it, but is there a particular one?
Yes. He interviews Kathleen Kennedy.
Oh, I have not heard that one. I'm so glad you told me about that.
Yeah, I haven't heard that either.
It's really, really good. It's, let's see, he doesn't have episode numbers here, but it's number 15 as I look at this. I know it's just listed as number 15 in the feed here. Mm-hmm. But it's Kathleen Kennedy, and she goes into her backstory about producing E.T., about all just the history of her producing, and it's fascinating. Like, it's utterly fascinating.
I'm so on that. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
I love this, that we get to point out things to each other.
Yes. I'm surprised I didn't put it in the notes here, but yeah, that came to me when you were reading that article, because she goes into a lot of that. And it's her own words.
Even better. I like that.
Well, and speaking of, people who do things a little bit differently and kind of put their own spin on things, please tell me you guys saw the Lego Force Awakens trailer for the new Lego Star Wars game.
Yay! Yes, I did.
Did you? Okay. Trisha, have you seen the trailer?
Of course. I love everything.
It is.
Everything Legos does with Star Wars is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is awesome.
Everything is cool when you're part of a team. Anyway, yeah, it's really one of the best trailers they've done. And I think my favorite part is Kylo Ren trying to light up his lightsaber, and he's banging it on the ground trying to get it to work. Really funny. Really.
It's like they're allowed to do all the goofy things that you can't do when you have to be a serious Star Wars writer,
Yep.
But they just get to be totally off the wall, and sometimes it's so adult, but it's for the kids, but maybe it's for us too.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I need to go pre-order mine. I'm ordering the PlayStation 4 special limited exclusive edition that comes with a minifigure as well as extra downloadable content that's exclusive to the PlayStation community, PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. So need to go pre-order that. Yay! And Sarah, I'm sorry, but you have an Xbox.
You and your PlayStations. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. My Xbox still works, and I can do my Nike Fit stuff with it. So I'm cool.
Well, listen, I'm not the gamer, but I do play one game, Disney Infinity, and it is nominated for a Kids' Choice Award.
Yay!
Which is awesome. There are so many cool Kids' Choice Awards. If you haven't gone to vote, all you have to do is Google Kids' Choice Awards. And there is, friend of the show, Adam Bray. He is nominated with Cole Horton for Star Wars Absolutely Everything You Need to Know in the books category. John Boyega and Daisy Ridley are both nominated in their film categories, as well as the film being nominated. So everybody needs to go over there and vote. And they don't have a limit. Like, you don't have to just not, only vote once. You can refresh the page and then vote again, which I do every morning when I wake up. I go and I vote 5 times.
Oh, you're good, man.
I'm actually going to watch the Kids' Choice Awards this year.
Okay, and we should say that this is the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards. So
yes, the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards. And the reason I'm doing that is because the Oscars are coming up this weekend, and I don't know how many awards Star Wars: The Force Awakens is going to win. So we need to have it win some awards, and if it wins Kids' Choice Awards, then there you go.
The Kids' Choice Awards are the only ones that matter.
Really? It's true.
It's true. I watch them. I watch the Kids' Choice Awards. They're fun.
I think, was it last year? Daniel Radcliffe was on one year, and everyone was going nuts.
All sorts of famous people do it, and they go and do crazy things on that awards. It's better than the adult awards shows because they just are goofy and fun instead of being.
They wear cool outfits, and the music performances are always really cool.
Yes,
it's not stuffy. Although I do love my stuffy Oscars, but it's not stuffy, which is fun. Now, speaking of awards. There are a couple people in the podcasting community that are starting up again, and hopefully I hope it takes shape and really continues, are the Star Wars Podcast Awards. They're being done by Andy Uri from Rebels Report and Mike Audette. He works over with Coffee with Kenobi and does some other things. And they're putting together the Star Wars Podcast Awards, and you can go to StarWarsPodcastAwards.com. And right now it's the nomination period, and nominations are accepted until February 16th. So the more nominations the shows get, the more likely they're going to get into the semifinals. So if you'd like to nominate all of the Star Wars shows that we do, Hyperspace Theories, Skywalking Through Neverland, Galactic Fashion, Vault Talk, Rebel Yell,
and of course, Fangirls Going Rogue, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to name them all. Fangirls Going Rogue, Star Wars Bookworms, all that stuff. Nominate them as many times as you want, so that way they make it to that list where we actually get to the voting stage. It'd be really cool to win one. I mean, I know it doesn't really mean anything, but
it would be cool to say, hey, we're an award-winning podcast.
There you go.
It would be very cool.
I think that's great.
So is it time to roll it, Rob Dellinger?
Yes, it is.
Shout it out to the social media from Teresa and Trisha and Sarah. Shout it out, fangirl shout outs.
Social media is awesome.
Yes, it is. And we love it when you guys tweet at us or post on our Facebook page or otherwise just share our latest episode or just your Star Wars excitement, like when you get a new toy or find a Rey doll. And I actually have an example of this because Thomas on Twitter, he is at Carchitty67 on Twitter, he tweeted out a picture of his brand new Black Series Rey action figure and tweeted, "Finally got my Rey action figure." So,
and he took it out of the box.
He did. There's a picture of it in the box and out of the box. So, yes. Do you approve, Teresa?
I approve. I mean, my one issue with Rey merchandise right now is that they made her face a little bit too masculine.
Yeah.
Like her jaw is sort of really long. She has horse face going on. And Daisy doesn't look like that. So they need to adjust her face sculpt. But other than that, it's good. And I don't mind that he took it out of the box. He can do whatever he wants. It's his action figure.
It's true. It's true.
Oh, and the best part about Rey is that it's Rey and you get BB-8. So,
yes.
You know, I think
two for price of one.
Originally, Poe was supposed to die, so they probably didn't worry too much about, well, you know, she's got a droid now. Like Luke Skywalker had R2-D2, but now BB-8's back with Poe, and I want BB-8 to be with Rey. I'm shipping them. I don't know what that means. Not in a romantic relationship, but I want Rey to have BB-8 back because I just, when we talk about Daisy Ridley, the interaction with BB-8 is just awesome. She, that little look that she gives him, like, okay, you can come.
Yeah, I know. And he's like, "Whoa." That's so adorable.
That was great.
I know.
That was
a
a good job.
Sarah's our own soundboard.
Yep, there you go. All right. Well, on our Facebook page, speaking of that, when we post our episode every month, we pin it to the top of the page. So a lot of you will write your reactions to the show in the comments right there. And so I wanted to read one of yours, and it's Adwa Adama. And they said, I've been engaging others over the lack of Rey as well, and I'm glad that so many podcasts have engaged fans in a constructive and intellectual manner, but there needs to be more of this because others have ignored this discussion so far. I was lucky to get the Disney's Rey figure with the lightsaber and BB-8, and that was because I just happened to go into the Disney store right when they first came out, and I didn't even know that this new line was available. Not long after that, they were gone, and they haven't been seen in my area since. And they posted a proud picture of this picture. So I'm very jealous. I want Rey with anything Rey with a lightsaber. I want it.
So did you guys get now they have the light up Disney Infinity figures with the lightsaber?
No, I have not. The Force effects?
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't gotten them.
I want a Rey one so
Me
bad.
too. Okay, so I want them to put out a figure, like a different Rey with the lightsaber. That's the Force effects that has the ability to use the lightsaber and the Force in the game.
It doesn't have to be for this version. Let's just hang on. Infinity 4.0.
Exactly. We want, but we're hoping that they're thinking of that option because a
variant.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things I've noted too on social media is that on my own is that I know that that's supposed to be the spoiler of the story, but essentially this is supposed to be a female superhero origin story, and they still don't tell anybody that they don't have any images out there on media for this is the girl with the lightsaber. It's a female superhero origin story that doesn't tell you it's a female superhero origin story. How crazy is that? If you didn't have Batman on the cover of your Batman movie. And so I'm just like, when are we going to get to the point where we got Rey with the lightsaber on a TV commercial? And so it's not a spoiler because now the toys are out there. Now there's the book cover with it, but I'm hoping we get to see that more. And so that's why we like fans doing social media and talking about it, because then they can see that we're all excited to get things like these beautiful Rey action figures.
Absolutely. All right. Well, can I just share one more tweet with you guys?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this was just a fun tweet about our show, and Nick, who is at Imperial Trader on Twitter, he tweeted, "So in love with Fangirls Going Rogue, one of my favorite podcasts." So I just really thought that was nice, and thank you so much for tweeting at us at Imperial Trader. We like your name.
Traitor!
I know. That's all I can think of when I see that.
The TR8R. There we go. So, speaking of social media and a way for you to engage and get something from Fangirls Going Rogue is I have this beautiful Rey and Finn Star Wars The Force Awakens wall covering. Do you guys know what those are? They're the ones that you can put like the fat heads, except this is from wall coverings.
They're like the vinyl ones, right? That you can stick to the wall.
Yeah. And you could just decorate your kid's room, or if you just want to, stand there and talk to Rey and Finn, but they come down so you can, redecorate things, but it's really fun. Like if you're having a party, you want to put it up. Anyway, I have one. We're going to give it away, but you have to visit our shiny new website, and there will be a post there when the show goes up. And all you have to do is find that tweet in the post and retweet it and follow Fangirls Going Rogue, and you will be eligible for that beautiful Rey and Finn wall covering, and we'll give it out on our next episode.
Super cool. Well, guys, we have somebody very special joining us on the line, so why don't we jump into that? Trisha, do you want to tell them who it is?
Yeah. fanboy friend by the name of Jason Fry. You might have heard of him. He's written a few books like Rey's Survival Guide, Star Wars, The Force Awakens, incredible cross sections. So books like that, the Essential Atlas. So we're going to have a fun discussion. Let's get him on the line. All right. This was one of the authors that I wanted to talk to on Fangirls Going Rogue. And we had a really interesting introduction, which, Jason, do you remember when we first met?
I'm not sure I do, which
See?
is terrible of me.
No, I know why you
I feel like
couldn't.
I've known you for so long that I'm like, but we must have met at some point because that's the way this works.
Well, it was a no-hitter for the Mets, I believe.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Star Wars
Oh, wow.
Weekends. And
That was the first time we met? Wow. Oh my God, that's funny.
This is how I met. Erish from Delray brought Jason to have dinner, Star Wars Weekends. He was doing signings, and Erish was kind of being awkward, and Jason was sort of like nodding and and he had an earbud in. And you can't talk about a no hitter when it's might be happening? Is that kind of like bad mojo?
Yeah. No, it's so extraordinary that you actually still talk to me because I was like the rudest, most awful person in the world. Yeah, no, the superstition is you cannot talk about a no-hitter while it's happening or it will immediately end because, sports are affected by people 2,000 miles away, obviously. But the problem I had was that, this was happening to the New York Mets for whom it had literally never happened in their history. And neither you nor Erish knew it was happening. And, the other stupid rule of no-hitters is you can't tell anybody or it will immediately end. So I felt kind of terrible. I was sitting there and I knew I was being horribly rude, but yet, superstition dictated that I was stuck being horribly rude. So yeah, I just sat there with my earbud in, paying increasingly less attention to, my pal Erish and this perfectly charming person who I should have been being a decent person to. And then finally the no-hitter ended and the thing that I feel okay about, and hopefully you would agree with this telling the story, is the no-hitter ended and I immediately, after being ecstatic, got to be exquisitely sorry, which I hope I was.
No, wait, see, I'm a horseback rider and I do the superstitious thing. So sometimes you end up with different color socks and a certain shirt that you have to wear until your luck runs out and stuff like that. So I totally understood at the time. And I believe Erish sort of like was giving me hand signals and he's like, I can't talk about it, but he's pointing at the game and I got it. Oh yeah, he's a Mets guy. So
yeah, what a way to meet. Oh, that's so hilarious. Yeah, I feel like I've known you forever. I had totally forgotten that was the first time. And yet you still talk to me. You're a very kind person. But yeah, that's quite a tale.
Well, it helps because, we're these crazy fans. And so we understand how that could be, right?
Yeah, no, that's kind of one of my smaller bucket list quests is to be a person bridging these fan bases that sometimes seem unbridgeable. In one case, it's unscripted athletic entertainment, and in another case, it's highly scripted fiction. But the emotional payoff is the same.
Well, we have questions that we ask every guest, and as Fangirls Going Rogue launches on our new endeavor, we created new questions. So, Sarah, you want to kick them off?
I sure do. You're our first guinea pig of our new questions. Are you excited?
Oh, yeah. Excellent.
Okay. All right. Here we go. So, has your fandom been reinvigorated since the Disney sale? And if so, was there like a particular moment that defines that new energy?
Yeah, it has. And I'm really happy I can say that. I think like everybody, my first reaction was, oh my goodness, really? Like that's insane. And you kind of didn't know what to think. And, I'll admit to having some anxiety about it. What does that mean? I think anything precious to you the way, Star Wars is to me and to so many other people, when things change, I think everybody's first reaction is kind of to worry. And this kind of leads us inevitably into when the EU became Legends, et cetera, which I was, a little bummed about because I'd written like 500,000 words, et cetera. And, I think it would have been very strange not to feel at least a little bummed. But, my fandom has been invigorated, and I've largely made my peace with that decision because, to my mind, most of the new storytelling we've gotten has just been phenomenal, whether it's the novels or the stuff Marvel's done. And that's been great. And for me, the moment that really capped it off, I was seeing Force Awakens the second time. And I say the second time because the first time I was just nervous. I was like, oh, I want it to be good. I hope it's good. What if it's not good? And so I spent the whole first viewing sort of worrying about that. And the second time I was like, it's good. It's good. It was fun. Now I could actually just enjoy it and take in the story. And it's the moment where, spoilers, though we're pretty far along.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's the moment, good. It's the moment where, where Kylo calls Luke's saber and it goes into Rey's hand. And the reason I was so happy about it, it's not just that, saber duels and that I love Rey to unbelievable distraction, but it was that the audience started to applaud. And, I think everybody knew they were going to applaud Han and Chewie. They were going to applaud the Falcon. They don't really applaud Leia, but I think that's because that scene is structured in a way that there isn't kind of a logical stop and clap moment. Mm-hmm. But, you knew they were going to applaud all our old heroes. But, I mean, for them to applaud the character that they'd never seen an hour and 40 minutes before that moment, that's huge for, frankly, for all of us, for the franchise, for the fan base, for everybody. And, to have that kind of reaction in a theater to a brand new character, a brand new situation, I was like, oh, this is going to be great. Now I'm so much more excited. It's all going to work.
So did you know the script of the movie beforehand? Because I know Erish did, for example. So his first viewing is a little bit of a different experience.
I had not read the entire script, but I did know the entire story. So, yeah, and that was another thing going on the first time. For one thing, I had two books that came out that day and date. And that was another thing. The first time I saw it, I was kind of in editor mode. And I was like, oh, that was different in the shooting script. Oh, no, what does that mean for the book, et cetera? And that was an interesting experience. Yeah, I'd never really had that experience before. And part of me was a little sad about it. And part of me was a little excited for all the kind of James Bond stuff of, having to keep secrets. It was kind of a weird mix. I'll tell you, it's funny. When I do school visits and things, I say this every time, and kids never believe me, but it's really not that as nearly as fun as you think it would be, because you can't talk about it to anybody. And, I think that's why stories work, that you get together and talk about why you love this or didn't love that. And, instead you just have to zip your lip for however long till the world catches up. So, but yeah, it was an odd experience, definitely.
There's been a few things where I've been able to do stuff for Star Wars Insider or working at Ultimate Star Wars and knowing you can't talk about something, and then it's 3 months later and you're like, oh yeah, I already went through that alone.
Yeah, did you have that reaction, or did you feel differently? I'm curious. For
the movie, I was with a bunch of reviewers, not with fans. Not to say they weren't fans, but they were there to serious. And Teresa, was
same experience.
And it was very isolating because you were trying to process it all and knowing you have to write about it, and nobody was reacting. And so it was the first experience for me. I won't trade getting to, because I knew what was coming the second time when I got to see with the audience, and I loved okay, everybody's gonna go, ooh, and there were just things you could never predict were going to happen, and it was just hearing them. That was my favorite. Was there was a group of guys over in the one section who were like, yeah, boy, when she caught the lightsaber. So that was fun to hear them scream and waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, no, and I love, this is a whole nother discussion, but she's such a great character, period, end of story, but she's such a great character for breaking down a lot of, I think, kind of fake nonsense that we've gotten fed. And, I mean, yeah, there wasn't any demographics to who was cheering that moment that I saw. It was just everybody was like, yeah, which is, is great and puts the lie to a lot of nonsense. So more like this.
Do you have any Rey action figures? Are you a collector?
I am. And, and the frustrating thing is, I mean, I'm a big snobby dork, so I only want the super articulated 3 3/4 figures. And so for Rey, that's a Walmart exclusive, and it's the only one I don't have. I haven't been able to find it. But I've been offering, and I'll make this offer to all your listeners as well, that if anyone wants to get me one, I'll trade you a signed, inscribed Rey's survival guide for it. Yeah, I'm missing it.
Wait, what are we doing? Because now I'm all excited.
She's also you can find a Walmart Rey. Is that right?
Yeah.
3
3/4 inch.
Yeah, the Rey Black Series. 3
Oh, I'm on it.
It's only at Walmart.
I know you're talking to a Black Series collector and a toy collector in general. I'm on it. I'll get my little minions on it.
She has minions.
Well, speaking of collecting, since we were kind of, I want to know, what is your favorite prized possession, like Star Wars wise, and why?
I'm actually looking at it, which is no use on a podcast. When I turned like 30 or so, I thought back to my childhood, and there were 3 things I had always wanted. Like my equivalent of when I grow up and my ship comes in, there are 3 things I want. The first was I wanted a T-Rex skull. And it took me a while to figure out there were 4 of those in the entire world. So that wasn't going to happen. And
That's amazing.
The second thing I wanted New York Mets season tickets. And so that was actually obtainable, but it was a whole lot of money. And I was like, I'm not going to the park 81 nights a year. I'm just not. So I was like, maybe we don't need that dream. I can just, go when I want to go. But the third thing, as a kid, I always wanted a set of Stormtrooper armor. So in the mid 90s, I poked around on the sad proto web and actually found somebody in the forerunners of the 501st who, had one in California. And I actually bought it. And my dad, who's really adept, we had to put the whole thing together, et cetera. But then I had to get a mannequin, which was actually the hardest part, was getting a surplus mannequin. But yeah, it's sitting in my house right now on its mannequin with the gun and a police holster and everything. So yeah, that's my most prized possession, partially because it's Stormtrooper armor, and how great is that anyway? But partially because it's the one leg of the childhood triad that I actually made happen.
Oh, have you ever worn it?
I have a couple of times. But the fun story is I borrowed a set from the Empire City Garrison once, not mine, for a Star Wars event at Citi Field where the Mets play, putting my 2 great dorky loves together, and that was simultaneously a wonderful experience and just absolutely terrifying. I've never been so frightened in my life. Have you guys ever worn the armor?
No. I've worn football pads. Is it similar?
I've worn the Slave Leia.
That's not similar.
Sort of the opposite. I think.
Well,
I don't really know.
You'd be surprised because it is hard to sit down in it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Which Stormtrooper armor is kind of the same way. You have to stand.
Yeah, it was funny. I dropped something and I realized it may as well be on the moon. I couldn't pick it up. The things I didn't know is, it's not surprising they can't hit anything. I mean, you cannot see anything, nothing. But the particularly scary thing is you can't see anything below kind of mid chest. Mm-hmm. And so we were out in public and children were running up and gang tackling us. But when they got within about 4 feet, I couldn't see them. They had no idea where they were. And the other thing was, it's just hot as hell, and it smashes your nose against your face.
So we know why they were all running into walls and stuff in the New Hopes.
There's a reason they're the worst soldiers ever. I mean, they can't see, they can't move. But we were going down these steps in the ballpark, and like a lot of arenas, like the railing is all broken up so people don't get stuck behind each other going back and forth through their seats. So I couldn't see, and I couldn't see the steps, and I'm using the railing, but the railing keeps disappearing and I can't see that. So, but all the Empire City guys were really used to this stuff. So they're just walking around like normal people. And I'm like creeping down these steps at a mile an hour. And, it was just humiliating. And then I went and hooked up with friends of mine who hadn't known I was doing this. And they were like, yeah, there's this one stormtrooper we're really worried about. Like he was, having a stroke and I was like, yeah, that was me. So.
He was a stroking. When I did one of the book signings for Ultimate Star Wars, they were telling me that's why there's always Imperial officers walking, is to guide them and to be lookouts. And they said that they were marching, and one of them said, "Oh, missed this kid," and he turned and hit a concrete bollard. Just took him right down because you can't see it. So he's like, kid to your right. So he turned left and boom, and that was it. So you're not the only stormtrooper who has experienced this. And I was worried in that signing because they had a stage, and I'm like, oh, what if they don't? They wanted to all gather around, and what if it went kerplop? But they're very good at it.
Stage.
Oh yeah, no, the Empire City guys, they were so kind to me. I mean, letting me do this in the first place. They did take a certain amount of delight in this newbie would understand like everything they had to learn. So
that's why they let you do it, because they knew what you were in for. They're like, all right, go ahead.
Yep.
More entertainment for us.
So you mentioned Rey, and you got to write Rey's survival guide.
Yes.
So were you loving the character just before you saw her, when you were just creating this? And what were your goals for that book? What were you trying to get across for people who were getting to know her?
I was not loving the character, but I mean that not as any aspersion on the character. I think for me, that's really a testament to just how fantastic Daisy Ridley is. I mean, she just makes that character work and just inhabits that character so well. And, also credit, of course, to the writers and J.J. Abrams. But, for me, that character was on the screen, actually seeing her, that I fell in love with her as a character. For the book, it was an interesting assignment. One of the things that intrigued me about it was we were very conscious of this was not a diary. I mean, we did add a segment kind of chronicling the film, but we tried to stay away from something that was really introspective because, that's not really who Rey is, at least at the beginning of the movie. She's very walled off from who she is, both in terms of what she knows about herself, but also in the way she thinks about herself. She's sort of, shut all that down to just survive. So the thing I found interesting about that book is, so we talked about how to make it kind of a straight survival manual, talking about Jakku and the graveyard and all that stuff. But we wanted to kind of tell the story between the lines, if you know what I'm saying, like so that you'd get a sense of Rey almost by what she wouldn't say, by the way she'd react to things differently. And you'd get a sense of her, being walled off that way. So that was an interesting trick to try to pull off, as well as, I mean, look, it was just fun to, make up stuff about Tito's and add things to Jakku and all that. All that was great. But it was really kind of I was interested in the character challenge, since a lot of the tools I think you'd go to as a writer first kind of weren't available. Like, could we make that work? And hopefully we did.
Well, I was actually going to ask you about this because we're getting ready to review Rey's survival guide on Bookworms. Yeah. And because we've done, Sabine's sketchbook and we've done Ezra's journal. And we really like the in-universe type of books. Actually, they're my personal favorite. So cool. Did you try to keep with sort of the pattern that they had started with Sabine's sketchbook and Ezra's journal and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. And we were very conscious of not departing from that. But at the same time, with those characters, I mean, they kept some of the backstory out of that book, for larger franchise reasons. But with Rey, even in universe, it wasn't there. I mean, she kind of literally doesn't know who she is, doesn't know where she came from. So that was an interesting challenge to do that. Just, kind of a lot of the normal arrows in the quiver just weren't there. So how do we make that work? Another interesting thing about that was kind of thinking about the tone of it. Like, I was very conscious of the fact that it could be a really grim book if you weren't careful. But from knowing the story, I knew that Rey wasn't just completely grim and humorless. And so how did you make those two things work as well? And also in terms of kind of the art and some of the found objects, we were thinking a lot about how can we do some lighter material that kind of gives the audience a break and lets them enjoy parts of that. So thinking about that and how to make the tone work overall was an interesting challenge.
I think my favorite part is the part with the life forms of Jakku, especially the Hapabor stuff and the Hapabor deworming. And I'm like, this is fantastic.
Oh my goodness. I haven't read this yet. Wow.
I had a bit too much fun with the Hapabor thing. But, I mean, what the heck? I was like, they're big, gross animals. Somebody has to take care of them. That's probably not always the greatest duty in the world. So, but I'm glad you mentioned that. That was exactly what we were going for. We're like, we can have some fun with this. And, hopefully that lightens things up a bit.
Yeah, I like this book, and the visual dictionary have become my go-tos when I need to find out information. So I'm like, okay, what did they say in her survival guide? Oh, this. And with a smiley face. So that means good.
I will tell you, though, there is there's an interesting thing about the perils of the shooting script versus the what actually makes it on film in there. And it's just kind of how much you don't necessarily know. Like when we were talking about kind of, sitting there in kind of editing mode the first time, like in the survival guide, I talk about Rey's like, you always watch where you're putting your feet and you always leave 90 minutes before you have to. And you always make sure you've, 2 hours more water than you need, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So in the first 10 seconds of the movie, we see her like swim over a gap and like run out of water. And I was like, oh man. But then you're like, well, it is what it is. Hopefully people still like the book.
You still have to break your own rules.
Yeah, exactly. But I was like, oh my God, 10 seconds.
I chalked it up to that maybe she just drank too much at one time. And that happens on occasion, so.
Or she has another canteen. Yeah, there's
there's another one on her speeder. There you go.
Exactly.
We've already figured it out. So for me, the cross section for the engineer person that I am was one of my favorites. And I particularly like the little stories. So my favorite were the Millennium Falcon, the breakdown, Rey, and what you describe why it broke down. And did you get to come up with that kind of stuff, or is that stuff you're given?
For that, I came up with it. That was something where I had actually read that part of the script, so I knew exactly what she was going to say. And then I went through. Unfortunately, it's the Falcon, so there's a bunch of schematics. But I went through the Haynes manual and the previous cross sections and everything, kind of looking at where she is and what could she be working on, and then trying to trace it back and trying to come up with something plausible that hopefully would fit. And I think we did okay, which was a big relief.
Looked good to me. The liquid metal overflows into the distributor's propulsion tank and backs up into the ship's auxiliary systems.
Yeah,
I have no idea what that means.
They're actually kind of connected. It actually kind of could, well, I was going to say work, but really kind of not work that way.
If you listen to car guys talk, that's the way it goes.
That's what it sounds like to me. Like I'm so not in. This is something that comes out in my knowledge of Star Wars. I'm so not like a ship person. Like, I know their names and they look cool.
Yeah.
But I don't. I'm not a car person either. Like my husband tries to tell me when you park the car, you need to straighten the wheels. And I'm like, okay, whatever, sure. I'll just do it because I don't know. I don't understand. So I like looking at cross sections. I don't understand any of it, but it's very pretty.
Well, what's interesting is I'm wired exactly like you. Like I'm nothing like your husband. I'm nothing like Trisha in terms of how my mind works. So yeah, I'm the exact same way. This is funny. When I was doing Clone Wars Incredible Vehicles a few years ago, I was working with the DK artists on that, and who are all of them, including Camp Remillard in the new book, are all incredibly nice guys and incredibly brilliant guys. But with the Clone Wars book, they were very careful about Richard and Hans about not stepping on what they saw as kind of my job. So I was getting these wonderful diagrams, these wonderful schematics, but they weren't labeled what things were. And, I, who don't know how any kind of engine works or anything, I was really kind of fumbling. And finally I said, hey, I got to say, there's clearly you have something in mind here. Like, you look at this and you know that someone put this together with an overall plan. And I said, can you just, label everything that you send me with what you think it is, and then let that be my starting point. And if I need to Star Wars it up, etc., I'll do that. And they were like, oh, okay, sure, we can do that. And then it was funny, that book started working much better after that, because then then everything made sense and we could go from there. And I wasn't instead trying to think in a way that I'm really not capable of thinking. So that was an interesting lesson.
That's actually brilliant. Be like, here, I know what all this is, but if you can just go ahead and label it, that would be great.
Well, yeah, one of the things people don't realize is there's all these leaders in these books, and they come and they're pointing at things. And I saw you noted this when Pablo made a comment about the pointing to like Leia's buns or something like that. And you said rookie. And I didn't realize at first that you could tell them to point someplace different because they just point at things. And then I was finally like, can you point at something other than like her neck? And they're like, oh, okay. Because it's just like, it looks good where they're pointing. So
that took me 3 books. That took me 3 books for DK because I was like, oh my God, everything's pointing at a belt buckle. And they were like, you can point it at whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'm sure they were like, why does he keep describing belt buckles? And I was like, oh, okay. Then we move everything around. Yeah, that's hilarious. So that's like the DK experience. Like everyone goes through that
to figure it out. Yeah, it took me a while when I'm playing. Like, I really don't want to write about someone's hair again. So can we move it?
Wait, so what was DK doing? They were pointing somewhere and you had to write?
Yeah, what the graphics people do is they just put in like a leader with a random text, and then you have to tell them like that's the engine or that's the sensor array. So when you look at Incredible cross sections, say Han's freighter page, and there's all these leader lines pointing at different things. So you have to tell them what it is, which thank you for all the other resource books that you can go to figure that out. But anyway, it's just kind of funny because you can tell them to point someplace else. The graphics designer's just making it look, I'll put one there, I'll put one there. And you're like, well, that's not really interesting. That's a wing.
Yeah,
it's really funny.
Exactly. Yeah, the graphics guys are happy. There are 10 of them. Point them whatever you want. But yeah, apparently it takes every DK author a couple of books to figure that out.
That's great. Because there's one of those in the visual dictionary on the Poe Dameron page where it's pointing at his hair. And what Pablo has it labeled is tousled hair after taking off a helmet.
Wow.
Yep. Rookie.
That's where you tweeted. That's the one. It was the Poe's hair. Well, you got to make it sound interesting. So.
Yeah.
So, Jason, you don't just write for Star Wars. You have your own series, Jupiter Pirates, which I've read. And do you want to give us your elevator pitch for people who haven't read it?
Oh, sure. Thank you. Yeah, Jupiter Pirates is technically it's for 8 to 12. I like to say it's 8 to 80, like Harry Potter or anything else. It's set in the 29th century. Earth's colonies in the outer solar system have broken away from the mother planet. And there's this kind of state of Cold War in the solar system. And we follow one family from Callisto, moon of Jupiter. And they're a family of space pirates. The mother is the captain, the father is the first mate, and the children are midshipmen on the family pirate ship. So they're a starship crew as a family. And the thing that I hope makes an interesting series is the kids, they're crewmates, so they have to cooperate to stay alive. But they're also competitors. The captaincy of the family starship gets handed down from one generation to the next. And so their mother will pick one of the kids as the next captain. So they're cooperating, but they're also competing, which I think is, a lot like what happens to us when we have siblings or close friends. Hunt for the Hydra is the first book, and Curse of the Iris is the second one, which will be coming out in paperback in May, and the third one, Rise of Earth, comes out in June.
Yeah, these are really fun books. I read a lot of adult novels and YA, and I found it very entertaining. It's Tycho and Yana are awesome. They're twins, right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, and Yana cracks me up all the time. But we talked a little bit about this last time we were together for the costume exhibit. Just how great your female characters are, but you don't necessarily think too hard about that. So, do you want to just, because we had a little bit of conversation, like the mom's the captain of the ship, so yeah. And it just that everything works. There's characters are normal, and how does your process work to make that happen?
It's funny back for Hunt on the Hydra, I got a lot of pats on the back for doing something different, that the mother was the captain. And Yana, it's funny, Yana is not the protagonist, but keeps threatening to walk off with the whole series because she's my favorite character.
She's mine too.
Yeah. On the other hand, this is a different conversation. She's the Han Solo character, which is a little easier. I mean, she's the one who gets to have fun and shoot first instead of being responsible. But everybody kind of patted me on the back for something that was different and progressive, which I, of course, was happy about. But the weird thing was I was a little startled because I was like, I hadn't really thought of it that way. I wish I was that clever. It just, that was the story in my head. I mean, like Twitter and social media and everything has brought, a lot of garbage into our lives and a lot of unhappy conversations. But I think in my happier moments, I think that all that junk is a byproduct of raised consciousness about this stuff. And I think I was just lucky that my mom, if you ever get to meet her, is kind of no one you'd ever mess with. And, I was trying to figure this out the other day. I think I was in my mid-30s before I had a boss who wasn't a woman. And all of the women who had been my superiors in journalism and other things were all immensely helpful to me and taught me an enormous amount, and also, made no bones about, being the boss, and they would have my back, but they would also destroy me if I crossed them, which was, honestly, when you're growing up and learning the ropes of a profession is kind of what you want. So I don't know. It took me a long time to realize that was not a typical experience. Like, I found it weird. I was like 33 and suddenly I had a boss who was a man and was like, this is weird. I don't know how the hell to do this. So I don't know. I think just through my family and some dumb luck in everything else, what came across to a lot of people is, progressive and worth praise, or, some people thought was calculated. I just hadn't really occurred to me that way. It was just kind of like, that's sort of the way it's always been. Made sense to me.
Well, that's why we talk a lot about just normalizing storytelling and Star Wars, even because the more you see it, you obviously experienced it. You had the opportunity, but stories is the way that we get normalized into things. It's more so than, by the time we're working and whatnot. So,
yeah, and it's funny. That's been the next step for me. I love the Gina Davis. I mean, it's just such a simple principle. The idea of, just kind of all those background characters, make them 50-50. Why wouldn't they be? That just seems like a simple step. Like that's something I've tried to do, but it kind of hit home for me in the Servants of the Empire books, where Mary Spanjaff, who's a character I created, wound up being really important in those books because we wound up with Zer Leonis. We were kind of constrained about what he could be doing a lot of the time. And she wound up carrying a lot more of the narrative than I think I had originally thought, which turned out to be great because I, had fallen in love with this character and thought she was great and wanted to follow her adventures as much as Zer. I was on Twitter and somebody tweeted at me because Mary, for those who haven't read the series, is she's a slicer. The Star Wars equivalent of a hacker, and very adept at what she does. And somebody tweeted at me that thanking me for Mary and saying that she had grown up being really interested in computers and being constantly told that she couldn't do that because she was a woman. And she said, so thank you for Mary more than you know, which I was incredibly touched by. But more than that, it had never occurred to me. And that was eye-opening. I thought to myself, this stuff really matters. Before that, I think I had been wary of feeling like I was pushing it, et cetera. But after that, I don't feel that way anymore. Like if that's going to mean that much to people, then, if that's part of making a better world, then, show me how to do it. I'm all in. We should all be all in.
Well, it's funny that you bring that character up because I was actually going to ask you about those books because I love them. But she's probably my favorite character in the whole Servants of the Empire series. Like, she's awesome.
Thank you.
She makes those books. And I was actually going to ask you a couple things about them.
Yeah.
So did you have any control over like the design of the pages and them having that background like image going on behind the text?
The thing that makes the text hard to read?
Yeah, that.
No.
That was my nice way of saying the thing.
I knew exactly where you were going. I thought I'd help you out. No, and I thought that was a little odd. I loved working on them. I loved all the people I worked on them with, but I do wish somebody had rethought that a little bit.
That's I see that a lot in Disney publishing books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that kind of emblem.
Now, one thing that we noticed with Bookworms when we started reviewing those was that the initial, like the first book, it gave a very kind of Harry Potter vibe because there was 3 main characters, which that eventually changed a little bit. But we were kind of comparing, I can't remember the name of the sport now. But to kind of like Quidditch. Yeah, grab ball is kind of like Quidditch in a way. Like, was there any Harry Potter connection like in your brain at all? Because I was like, oh, Harry Potter.
No, I was actually really surprised by that. I really wanted to explore the idea of a team sport. And if Zer is going to be the leader of that team, what does that mean? How does he go about doing that? But I also wanted to explore, I mean, it's a cliche in sports comparing sports to the military, but here was a kid who was actually going to directly go from being a sports leader to being essentially an officer in training. So I wanted to explore, whether that would be kind of a junkie metaphor that he would reject, or would there be some similarities, et cetera. And so, grab ball made much more sense than some sort of baseball analog for that. Plus, the original idea for the book was actually I wanted to do Friday Night Lights in Star Wars. And
cool.
Yeah, so I really wanted to explore, this is a farm town, it's essentially, kind of high school football mad. And I wanted to explore that in a Star Wars setting. So that, again, pointed me to football. But no, I was actually very surprised by the Quidditch comparison. That hadn't occurred to me at all.
Well, and you're probably the only person that can answer this question. We've had a lot of debate on what actually classifies like a junior novel versus a young reader versus YA. Do you have any clarification on what makes, like, why they categorize them in certain areas and why the bookstores put them in certain places?
Oh, goodness. This is red meat being flung in front of me. I try really hard to be reasonable about this. And let me try to do the counter case is like, there are tons of people who go into a bookstore, they're shopping for, a gift for somebody, for a nephew or a niece or a birthday party or whatever. And they don't know, they don't know what to buy. And so I gather all that stuff is to help them. And I get that. But I don't know. I think all that labeling honestly does more harm than good. I just write the books, and I really do. And nothing drives me crazier than when I see people on boards who are huge Star Wars fans or huge anything else fans who are like, "I'm not reading that. That's for kids." Or, you see it in
I hate that
reviews.
so much.
People are like, "Oh, I was really astanished. This is well written, even though it's a kid's book."
It's like, what are you supposed to write it as?
Yeah, I mean, recently I wrote Levers of Power. It's a Ray Sloan short story in Rise of the Empire. And I mean, the writing is not different in Servants of the Empire or Jupiter Pirates or that. It's just not. And I think if you took the 4 Servants of the Empire book and put a, quote, adult cover on it, whatever that means, and put them together, I don't think anyone who read those would review them the same way or react to them the same way. It's just all marketing.
It's true. I mean, look at all the people who didn't buy Lost Stars because it said YA. And then slowly people were like, oh, I guess I'll check it out because that was the first book I went to. That was the one I wanted to read. And that was just, it's the themes and the words and everything are as up there on par with adult novels. And I think kids and young adults, we don't have to, their books don't necessarily dumb down to them.
No, not at all. I mean, my goodness, Servants of the Empire is about, realizing you live in a fascist system and are becoming part of it. And how the heck do you get out of that? I mean, that's not a kiddie story, but it drives me absolutely crazy. What I say is, the books are shorter. I mean, they're probably, 30 to 80,000 words. Not in the case of Lost Stars, though, which is quite a hefty book. And, sometimes I say the protagonists are shorter because, they're 12 years old and not full grown. But to me, that's it. That's really it. No, it just drives me absolutely berserk. And I really need to just stop, but it makes me crazy.
Well, it upsets me too. And, right now in our book club, we're doing Moving Target and Before the Awakening. And we did have some comments from some of our members of our book club saying, well, I'll come back when we're not reading kiddie books. And I was like, don't come back.
Bless you. Yeah.
Because you're missing great quality story. Mm-hmm. You're missing stuff that's very important to the Star Wars universe. And I was just curious because when we review them, we're always like, well, you'll find it in the kids section because it's a junior novel. And people always email us and say, well, what's a junior novel? And I'm like, I don't know. Just that's what they call it.
It's 30,000 words. It's a novella. Just call them all novellas. It'd be much.
I like that. I like that. So do you think we should jump into the character discussion?
I think it's time, yeah. Roll it, Rob Dellinger.
Sidious, Anakin, Luke and Leia, Qui-Gon Jinn, C.O. Bibble, Kylo Ren, Salacious Crumb, Bib Fortuna, Boba Fett, Amidala, Wicket, R2-D2, BB-8, I can barely keep it straight. It's a character discussion. It's the Fangirls on character. It's a character discussion.
Okay, so On this show, we like to do a character discussion at the end of every episode, but oftentimes we like to go off the beaten path, and we cover things like the Jedi Council or the Millennium Falcon. So since we have you here today, we wanted to do something that ties into planets and planetary maps. So here's the question for you. If you could travel to any planet and any ship with 2 companions, who would they be? What planet would you go to, and what ship are you in?
Am I staying in the Star Wars universe, I assume?
Oh, yeah, you got to stay Star Wars.
You have.
All right, so I'm not saying
I was about to say
Mozart
no,
and
but
Thomas Edison.
Do you want to think about it, and one of us go first, or do you have?
Yeah. Let me go second. How's
All
that?
right, okay. All right. I want to have Ray and Finn along with me. We're all going to get in a TIE fighter because in Rebels you can put more than 2 people in a TIE fighter, including Zeb. So there's a lot of room in those things. And I just want them to be like, no,
The one I'm pointing to.
no,
No.
not that one,
No.
not that one.
No, if we don't catch this up, the propulsion tank will overflow and flood this ship with poisonous gas.
And BB-8 be there too. Thumbs up.
Wait a minute. Can BB-8 be extra?
Yes, I'm
He's a
declaring
droid,
I'm
so he
declaring him
doesn't
extra. Yes.
Oh.
And we're going to fly to Sicilla. I'm going off the beaten path. We're going to an expanded universe planet. So
I was about to say, that is not a canon planet.
Uh-oh.
that's all right. It's in my imagination. It's still Star Wars to me.
So Cecilia, once again, which planet is this?
It's a very frozen planet where there were Imperials. So that's why we have a tie. And
Why do you want to go somewhere cold?
Yeah.
Because I live in Florida.
There is nothing wrong with that.
I said I posted today on Facebook that I was cold, and my friend from Canada is like, yeah, okay, 60 degrees. So Jason, what's yours?
My ship is going to be the Falcon because, I mean, it's the greatest ship ever. This is my new T-Rex skull. I threaten if I ever make $1 trillion, which I don't know how that's going to happen, that I'm going to build a full-size Falcon like that guy in Tennessee is actually doing it. So yeah, I'm going to be on the Falcon. I'm going to take Rey. Do I get a droid too?
You can, sure.
Yeah, everybody can have a droid.
All right, I'm going to take Rey and Mary Spanjaff with me because between their skill sets, they're going to keep me alive through anything while I'm sitting there being absolutely useless. And I'm going to take R2 because, you know, even when it's too much for them, R2 will save everyone and not get the credit. Let's see, where are we going to go? I'd say we're going to go to Bespin because, I mean, I basically live on Coruscant, so I don't really need to do that. And, you know, all the various kind of single biome planets seem sort of unpleasant. But, you know, Bespin's got, like, casinos and ice cream and sunsets. So, there we go.
Ice cream.
This story would get
fresh
told
made ice cream too.
Yeah, really. The way the story would be told is Rey and an old Mary Spanjaff go to Bespin and kick the useless passenger out and then go do something else. But oh well, I'd be around for that part at least.
You should pitch that story.
That's awesome.
Sarah, do you want to go or do you want me to go?
You know, I'll go since it's kind of jumping off that a little bit because I would also have to choose the Falcon as my ship.
Yeah.
That would be like the number one thing. And then I've always wanted to go to Naboo. Ever since I've seen it on screen, it's like, oh, that looks gorgeous, and the hills, and it reminds me of Sound of Music. And so I have to go to Naboo. And so I have a conundrum here because I'd either want to fulfill my fangirlness and bring fangirl friends, in which case I would bring Rey and Ahsoka, and we could have cupcakes in the hills of Naboo. Or I'd want to bring Han, and just Han. No one else. No one else need come.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
And we can go to Naboo.
I like the sound of that.
So that's where I'm at with that. And I really can't decide which one.
Who's your droid?
BB-8.
Okay, I figured.
Yeah, I kind of feel kind of bad leaving R2, but BB-8 is just so adorable.
Plus, he's easier to talk to. Like everybody can understand
sure.
BB-8. Everybody can understand BB-8. Somehow,
That's true. Well, yeah, I guess he has more ways of communicating with his body, even though it's like not as many appendages as R2 for some reason. It's just his little body rolling when Rey, says, "Okay, come on," Oh, so cute.
And he purrs.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So that's where I'm at. What about you, Teresa?
Okay, well, my ship is the Ghost because it's my favorite Lego build that I've done. And I'm obsessed with the Ghost. And plus, if I take the Ghost, I also get the Phantom, so I get 2 ships in one.
Oh.
Ooh,
that's always good. It's always good. And I would have Hera with me, and I've been going through different people, but it would be Kitwar, and he'd be grown now, so he'd be tall. Like, not little Kitwar, but like maybe teenage Kitwar. And because Hera needs a Wookiee. So... And then we'd have Chopper with us because we can't have any other droid because Hera can control Chopper and Chopper can shoot the guns on the Ghost and hit TIE fighters if we need him to. And we're going to go to Endor because the Ewoks are throwing a party and we want to go because it's the best kind of party.
With fireworks, no less.
Yeah.
And their music. Now, would you join in their music with the drums or something?
We would dance.
Okay. I like it. Oh, dance party on Endor.
With fireworks.
These are all grand adventures. Well, Jason, thank you so much for joining us. Tell people where they can find you on Twitter, social media, websites, all that stuff.
You can look for me on Tumblr, Jason Fry's Dorkery. That's jasonfry.tumblr.com, I think. If that's wrong, sorry, just Google it. Or on Twitter, I am Jason C. Fry. I am not Jason Fry. Jason Fry is a UK mobile programmer who's actually much nicer than me and knows a ton about Star Wars. So you should follow him too. But he's not me.
You can say, yeah, nice books.
I wonder if he gets that a lot.
Oh, constantly. And he's this is such a modern thing that, to my mind, none of us saw coming. You have to be nice to your doppelgangers because he'll redirect people with some sort of entertaining line. So, yeah, you got to be nice to all the other yous out there. But, I've really sold people on following Jason Fry, but hopefully they'll also follow Jason C. Fry.
Well, there you go. Well, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your time, and this conversation was spectacular.
Yeah, I had a blast. I'm so honored you guys would have me, so thanks so much.
Well, the time has come to say goodbye. I don't know. Every time I say that, I start going into Mickey Mouse Club.
I know.
Well, do we want to say goodbye yet, or do we want to tell people where else they can find us if they just want to listen to us chat more?
I was going there.
Oh.
What you said, Trisha, what you said.
Just didn't let me finish.
Wait, so we're plugging. Well, let's see. Well, we came out with a new logo, right?
We did.
We did. And what's super exciting about that is when we were promoting it all over social media, everyone else was retweeting and saying, wow, that's awesome. And our logo was like flying all over Twitter, which was really fun. And then we got some tweets saying, hey, we want this on a t-shirt. We want this on a t-shirt. So I said, okay. And I went to our tpublicsite.com, or I went to our TeePublic site, and I rejiggered the design for a t-shirt, and I also updated our Fangirl flail design for a t-shirt. So I made one that you can wear on darker t-shirts, which is great. And so now that is all updated on our TeePublic site. So what you have to do, though, is go to our shiny website, fangirlsgoingrogue.com. And if you click on the support tab, that will bring you right to a place where you can click on the TeePublic site, and you'll be on the right page to order your very own t-shirt. And what's fun about that is, you can choose if you want a t-shirt, if you want female or male, if you want a tank top or a v-neck or a hoodie. So Trisha, you ordered one, right?
Yeah, and it's fun. They've added more styles. So there's different material, different cotton. So you can do, if you pick female, then it would be, there's different types of material. There's click downs on the different types of shirts. I got a red one. It looks
nice.
Really snazzy with red. And I also got a pink one with the logo. So I had one light, one dark, and I've been I think it would look really, there's purple in the men's that it would look really good on, and it's not in the women's. So I'm hoping there's a purple in the women's, but it's not quite the purple that's in our logo.
Right. It's a little
like
lighter.
Purple.
Yeah.
And we love purple.
Yeah, if you can't tell by going to our website.
Yeah, and if you click on that support tab and you feel so compelled to support the podcast directly, that will help us with equipment and things like that, all the stuff that we need to keep the show going. There is a donate button through PayPal, and by no means have to, but that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
We'll take $1.
A little cup of coffee. Keep us going.
Stuff like that. Now, we all do other shows when we have cool stuff that's coming out. So I'm going to plug mine really quick. There is a great new episode of Disney Vault Talks Rebel Yell. It's a triple header that covers the first 3 episodes of the second half of this season of Star Wars Rebels with me, Steve Glasson, and Aaron Goins. So check that out. It's a really fun conversation. We have an episode of Bookworms coming out this week where we actually talk about the Visual Dictionary by Pablo Hidalgo. And then next week, we are interviewing Pablo Hidalgo. So that's very exciting. And then as Trisha mentioned at the open, I have joined Jonah Marie Macias on Galactic Fashion. It is now a part of the Jedi News Network. So if you want to find the show, you just go and find the Jedi News Network on iTunes. And we come out once a month. And we have some cool stuff planned and coming up for you.
Are you going to ask Pablo about his Disney at Sea experience?
We're going to ask him about that. I'm going to ask him about Transformers. This conversation is going to go all over the place.
I have to say that was pretty cute in the Rebels Recon when Andy called him and she asked him a question and then it was like, no signal. Just froze up. So that was funny. I was like, oh. So what I have worked very hard on the last couple of weeks is putting together Kay, BJ, and I from Fangirl. We got together and we broke down the hero's journey for Rey and The Force Awakens to talk about this, how it fits into the storytelling model. We talk about Campbell and Vogler. Vogler is the gentleman who created the memo that Disney used to create stories like The Lion King. It was how to make the Campbell hero's journey in a simpler way for film. So that was a fun experience. And I hope that can be used for, kids that want to learn about it and people who just like to, for some reason, the hero's journey is very popular with people. I don't know why, because I talked about it for 2 hours. And then I got to do the Geek Out Loud Marathon movie special. Sarah, you got to listen to it. That was fun, wasn't it?
Oh my gosh. It's like one of the best discussions ever because there's such interesting questions like who would you bring to a dinner party, out of all the movies ever, like which character and where would you go and all this crazy stuff. And before that, it's actually, I think, a 3-hour long episode because before that, James Arnold Taylor joins Steve Glasson to talk as well.
And James he's just great on interviews. So that whole thing is like, if you just want to sit down and have an afternoon and smile, I would say it's just people having fun. It was great conversation. So I had to go back and listen to James because I wasn't listening. They were recording that all in one long, stretch. So, and then Sarah,
it was good.
You've got a new episode of Skywalking Through Neverland.
Yeah. So you were mentioning Star Wars Day at Sea, right? Which is the Disney cruise. Well, we actually interviewed Chickafant and Chickafant's parents about their Star Wars Day at Sea Disney cruise on our Valentine episode, which just came out literally like an hour ago. So that's really fun to listen to, as well as we interviewed Mouse Mingle, the guy who created mousemingle.com, which is, it's the new Disney dating website.
Is that like people, like Disney people dating site? Is that what it is?
It's a dating site. We Disney Vault Talk has an account for Steve on Mouse Mingle.
Yes.
We are guinea pigging it and finding him matches.
That's so awesome. So yes, maybe we need an update then because I want to know how that's going. But yeah. And then on the Star Wars front, our episode 109 is Journey to Skellig Michael, and it features an interview with some of our Skywalkers, Bryce and Carly Yelverton, who actually visited the island of Skellig Michael off of the coast of Ireland, and they ended up visiting there before the movie came out. So they actually did not know what they were doing when they were standing where Luke Skywalker stood.
Oh,
yeah. But when they saw the movie, they were literally like jumping out of their seats at that last scene because they were there, you know? And so it's really interesting story because to get to that island is like taking your life in your hands because you're out on the Atlantic Ocean and you're in this like little dinghy and the waves are crazy and there's all these signs saying you might die. So it's like really hard to get there apparently, but I guess that's what makes an awesome place that they chose. I don't know.
It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which these are sites that the world has decided to preserve because there's historical importance and they should be saved from, being destroyed or run over because it's a beautiful island. Maybe somebody would want to live there or something, but with the birds, with the
exactly. So those are on Skywalking Through Neverland's latest episodes.
Awesome. And I actually have one more thing, and I didn't even know it was coming out today as we record, so it wasn't in our show notes. But I got to do my very first voice acting work with Radio Free Tatooine on their Star Wars audio drama called Shadow Quarry, and the second, I guess, episode or part came out, and you get to hear me as a Moff Imperial officer, and I have a scene with Mark Newbold from Jedi News. So it's pretty good.
You're a Moff?
I'm a Moff. My name is Moff Thesk.
Did you get to pick your name, or was that
no?
Moff Thesk?
Yeah.
I like
THESSK. Yeah.
You are now part of fan fiction.
I am.
Awesome. Cool.
All right. Well, if you want to get a hold of us in between shows, there are so many ways to do it. But here is how you can get a hold of us on Twitter and Instagram. We are at FG Going Rogue. Trisha is at Fangirl Cantina. I, Teresa, am at Ice Cold Penguin. And Sarah is at Jedi Tink.
You can email at us contact@fangirlsgoingrogue.com. We also have a contact form on the website. So if you just want to use that, you can get an email to us very easily. On Facebook, just type Fangirls Going Rogue. And on Tumblr, fangirlsgoingrogue.tumblr.com. I got lots of really cool pictures. I don't know, people are just totally vibing on the Kylo Ren fan art and the Rey fan art and making... Did you guys see the Maleficent stuff from Pablo this week where he's had the cat litter box?
Maleficent?
Yeah. It's not Maleficent. Yeah. It's Millicent. No, I'm going to say it.
Millicent.
Millicent the cat. Yes. I can't even do it justice, but Millicent is now in all sorts of fan art and I'm tumbling it. So it's Hux's, I think it's supposed to be Hux's cat. It's a joke. Where's the ashes? What are the ashes doing that Kylo Ren puts his hat in? Kitty litter box. This is where fans go with it. So he said it and then Tumblr went crazy. So I've retumbled a bunch of them. They'll be up in our queue.
Oh, cool. And it's just gotten a whole lot easier to send us a voicemail because you don't even have to call. You can go to our website, fangirlsgoingrogue.com, and there's a little tab that says send voicemail on the right side, and you just click that, and you can record right from your computer or phone. It's super handy. But if you want to do the traditional way, you can always call us at 331-21-EWOKS or 331-213-9657.
I'm waiting for somebody to tweet us and say they have us on their speed dial.
Oh, wow. Maybe Chickafint.
We love Chickafint.
I know. It's awesome. All right. Well, we have, of course, our t-shirts available on TeePublic with the brand new logo. And mid-month, there should be another sale where they are $14 each, which is a great steal. And we, of course, have our website, fangirlsgoingrogue.com. You can click on that Support Us tab and, support us in any way you can. We just love that.
And another way you can support us is go to iTunes or Stitcher and leave us a review. The reviews are really important. They help them kind of rank how podcasts are perceived, and people check those out. So you can really help us by leaving a review.
All right, everyone. Well, until next time. Dun 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 dun. Yum.
Yum.
Yum. Yum. Yum.